Hello everybody, this is Brian and Benjamin Tercero. We are local brothers and realtors here in the beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. Now if this is your first time on this channel, we're here to get you educated on what it's like to be a Santa Fe local. And more importantly, to help you become a local by serving you throughout your entire home buying experience.
So make sure that you tap that subscribe button so that you're notified every time I release a new video. And seriously, if you're planning on making a move to Santa Fe, don't go call another realtor to help you. Make sure that you give us a call, shoot us a text or an email, or just leave us a comment down below. However you want to get a hold of us, we're here to serve you in your move to the Santa Fe area. Now, when you think of where celebrities disappeared to, you probably pictured Malibu's beachfront mansions with infinity pools spilling into the Pacific. Or maybe a Manhattan penthouse where the skyline itself is part of the decor. Or perhaps one of those sprawling Montana ranches where you're more likely to bump into a grizzly than a paparazzi.
But there's another choice, quieter, more mysterious, and far less likely to end up in a TMZ slideshow. A place where the night skies are so clear you can count the constellations without an app and without even trying. Where the air smells like sage after the rain, a scent so intoxicating you'll consider bottling it, slapping a label on it, and selling it in Beverly Hills for $400 an ounce. Where the horizon glows pink before sunrise, it's like blushing just to see you awake.
It's been the not-so-secret escape of Hollywood royalty, Broadway darlings, and literary legends for decades. Although they'd prefer that you didn't notice, which in a way is exactly the point. And this is Santa Fe, New Mexico, a high desert jewel where art meets nature and fame finally gets to kick off its shoes, pour a top-shelf margarita, and take a deep soul-level breath.
Santa Fe doesn't announce its star power. There's no walk of fame, no tour buses with intercoms pointing out gates. Here, fame checks its ego at the city limits. You could be standing behind an Oscar winner in green chili line at the farmer's market and never know it until you realize that their casual weekend hat costs more than your car, of course.
Now, over the years, this town has quietly collected an A-list guest book. Shirley MacLaine, Gene Hackman, Julia Roberts, Val Kilmer, Cormac McCarthy, Ali McGraw, Robert Redford, Tom Ford, George R.R. Martin, and that's just the starter list. And they all came for the same reason artists and dreamers have been coming here for more than a century: the light, the landscapes, and the freedom to live life entirely unchoreographed.
Santa Fe's relationship with celebrity isn't a fling. It's been a committed romance for nearly a century. Now, back in the 1920s and 30s, when Los Angeles was still deciding where to plant the palm trees and who should play the leading man, artists and writers started trickling into northern New Mexico. They came for the same reasons people come now: the light that makes you every hour feel like golden hour, the landscapes that refuse to be the background scenery, and a culture that somehow blends cowboy boots, opera gowns, and hiking gear into the same closet. And it works. Georgia O'Keeffe may have been the headliner of that era, her art, name in lights, her name on the marquee, but she wasn't a solo act. She paved the road for great creative migration, proving that you didn't need a soundstage to create something iconic. You just needed the right light, the right land, and a willingness to trade traffic jams for quiet skies. Fast forward a few decades, and Santa Fe's quiet gravitational pull began drawing in Hollywood royalty. Shirley MacLaine has spoken openly about the deep, almost mystical energy of the land, saying it feels alive. And given her spiritual reputation, if she says the dirt is humming, people believe her. Gene Hackman, one of Hollywood's most versatile and respected actors, chose to spend his later years not in the spotlight, but surrounded by adobe courtyards and sweeping mountain views. A quiet chapter as dignified as his legendary career. Julia Roberts has been spotted around Taos and Santa Fe, blending in so seamlessly you half expect her to hand you a cup of coffee and ask how your garden's doing. Val Kilmer owned a ranch so sprawling and cinematic, it could have been cast as a character in one of his films. Cormac McCarthy, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author, wrote from the quiet of northern New Mexico, proof that the muse works overtime when the cell service is patchy. And then there's George R.R. Martin, the mind behind Game of Thrones, who seems to have quietly built his own Westeros right here in Santa Fe. He doesn't just live here, he owns here. Properties, businesses, a restored historic theater, his footprint is woven throughout the city like one of his storylines. What makes Santa Fe different is that here, celebrity isn't a currency. Nobody's painting your face on a mural, naming a cocktail after you, or trying to turn your trip to Whole Foods into a headline. Whether you're a ranch hand, a gallery owner, or a Best Actor winner, you're just another person picking out heirloom tomatoes at the Saturday farmer's market. And if someone does recognize you, they'll probably just nod, tip their hat, and go back to passionately debating the merits of red versus green chili. That's the real local controversy.
Now, for someone constantly photographed, privacy isn't a perk, it's oxygen. And in Santa Fe, you don't have to build a fortress or buy the property next door just to get that. Privacy is built into the terrain, the architecture, and more importantly, the culture. We're talking estates tucked so far down winding driveways that your GPS gives up halfway, offers a sympathetic good luck, and then reroutes itself back to town. Homes hidden in pinon and juniper forests, where the trees themselves seem to be on payroll as bodyguards. Mountain ridges serve as natural privacy walls, blocking sightlines, cell towers, and for some residents, the temptation to check your email. Now here, the only thing your neighbors are likely to overhear is the wind threading its way through the sage or a coyote choir tuning up a moonlit performance. And no, they're not eavesdropping, they're too busy just living their own lives. Celebrities love that in Santa Fe, no one's dangling over the fence with a telephoto lens or accidentally flying a drone over your roof line. Now, this is the kind of place where paparazzi just get bored, put down the camera, and they just start shopping for turquoise instead. Now, you can go days without anyone knowing that you're in town, unless if you decide otherwise, of course. Now, that's a rare kind of privacy, the kind that doesn't come from isolation, but from a community that knows the difference between neighborly and nosy.
Celebrities aren't flying into Santa Fe to buy something that they could find 2 blocks from Rodeo Drive. They want a home with soul, something that doesn't just look different but feels different the moment you step inside. Santa Fe offers homes you simply can't find anywhere else because the architecture here isn't borrowed from a Pinterest board or recreated from a glossy magazine spread. It's woven into centuries of history, climate, and culture. You've got 200-year-old adobes where the walls are thick enough to hold in the heat on a winter night and thick enough to hold in the stories of everyone who's ever lived there. Hand-plastered walls with the kind of tactile, imperfect texture that makes you want to trail your fingertips along them. Antique vigas, those exposed wooden beams so massive you can't help but wonder how they got them up there in time before forklifts, blueprints, or laser levels. Then there are the sleek contemporary builds, glassy, angular, and airy, that still tip their hat to the Pueblo Revival style. Clean lines, soaring ceilings, and disappearing glass walls, but with just enough adobe curves to keep them grounded in the Southwest sense of place. And the courtyards. They're not just courtyards, they're open-air living rooms. Picture a trickling fountain casting ripples into the air, an adobe fireplace flickering as twilight settles in, and views so perfectly framed by archways they look like they've been storyboarded for a film. For a celebrity, it's never just a property, it's a statement piece. A home that says, yes, I could live anywhere, but I choose here. Something that doubles as a personal retreat and a work of art, and maybe, just maybe, makes all their other homes a little jealous.
All right, imagine stepping out of your bedroom and seeing the Sangre de Cristo Mountains glowing crimson in the sunrise. Like the landscape hired its own Oscar-winning lighting designer for the morning shift. Imagine sunsets so arresting that they stop conversations mid-sentence, leaving you frozen with your wine glass halfway to your lips until the last streak of gold reluctantly slips away. Santa Fe's beauty isn't the kind you admire politely from a distance. It's not a backdrop, it's a co-star. It gets into your head, slows your breathing, and starts rearranging your priorities without asking for permission. For celebrities used to living in a high-pressure, high-schedule world, this is the antidote. Out here, the day's pace isn't dictated by call sheets, concert dates, or back-to-back meetings. It's set by the rise and fall of the sun, the lazy turn of the wind, and the occasional summer thunderstorm rolling in like a dramatic plot twist. And it's not just the views, it's the experience of being part of the landscape. One day you're on horseback following a quiet trail through golden aspen groves that shimmer like coins in the breeze. The next, you're carving through fresh powder at Ski Santa Fe, the city itself glimmering in the distance like a secret. Or maybe you're doing nothing more than sipping on coffee on your patio while 2 ravens drift overhead, clearly gossiping about your bad choice of pajamas. Now, this connection to nature is constant, grounding, and whether you realize it or not, creatively intoxicating. It's why so many who arrive for a week find themselves staying for a month or more, and then quietly looking for a place to call home.
Santa Fe is a cultural powerhouse, but without the chaos, the velvet ropes, or the elbow-throwing crowds who think sold out is a suggestion. Take the Santa Fe Opera. It draws global talent and international audiences, but you can show up in jeans and boots, glass of champagne in hand, and nobody blinks. The dress code here is less about tuxedos and more about how warm you can stay once the sun slips behind the mountains, a real consideration when the temperature drops like a curtain at intermission. Then there's Canyon Road, a half-mile stretch lined with hundreds of galleries. In most cities, meeting a world-class artist face-to-face requires a VIP pass, a handler, and at least 3 let me check with my assistant emails. Here, you walk through the door, ask about the painting, and you might find yourself invited to the artist's studio. Just don't be surprised if it's a converted adobe with a wood stove and a cat named Frida keeping watch over the brushes. And the culinary scene? For a city under 100,000 people, Santa Fe punches so far above its weight, it might as well be in a different weight class. We're talking James Beard Award winners, boutique wineries, and farm-to-table dining so fresh, you can half expect the chef to hand you a shovel and point toward the garden. One night it's duck confit under white linen, the next it's a mom and pop cafe where the green chili recipe has been guarded longer than some Hollywood secrets. Celebrities love that they can wade into this cultural buffet without becoming part of the evening's entertainment. You can browse the farmer's market, slip into a gallery opening, or linger over dinner, and the most attention you're going to get is a polite nod before your neighbor goes back to passionately debating whether red or green chili reigns supreme.
A second home has to be convenient, otherwise it slowly morphs into a third home, the one that you brag about over cocktails, but only visit when you finally have the time, which never actually happens. Santa Fe makes it easy. The Santa Fe Regional Airport is ready for private jets and a curated list of commercial flights, perfect for slipping in without fanfare. And if you want more options, the Albuquerque Sunport is just an hour away, connecting you to major hubs across the country without the soul-draining chaos of a mega airport. From LA, you could be here in under 3 hours. From Dallas, 2. From New York, about 5. That means you can wrap filming on a Friday night, wave goodbye to the hair and makeup team, and by Saturday morning be sipping coffee on your patio while the mountains turn gold in the early light. And here's the beauty of it. When you land in Santa Fe, there's no swarm of cameras, no exclusive shots of you trying to wrestle your carry-on out of the overhead bin. Just fresh air, open skies, and maybe a man in a cowboy hat offering you directions to the plaza. Though, given this tout, he might be a best-selling author or a retired rock star. Now, it's that perfect balance of accessible and discreet, close enough to your everyday life to use often, far enough to feel like you've stepped into another world entirely.
Here's the thing about Santa Fe. It doesn't just sell homes, it sells peace of mind. And frankly, that's harder to find than a good parking spot in Beverly Hills. Picture this, you wake up to the slow, comforting crackle of a cedar smoke drifting from your Kiva fireplace. The morning air is cool enough to make that first sip of coffee taste like it belongs in a cinematic slow motion montage. And when you step outside, the air smells like sage and sun-warmed earth, 2 things money can't buy unless you live here. You spend the mornings on horseback, weaving through winding trails with golden aspens in the background that look like they were painted by a director obsessed with the perfect lighting. By afternoon, you're back at your private art studio, brush in hand, or in your home spa, wrapped in a robe so plush, it should have its own IMDb profile. Then evenings arrives, not with a honk of traffic or chop of helicopter blades, but with the sky slowly spilling into deep blues and purples. You're on the patio, blanket around your shoulders, watching the stars blink into existence. There's a coyote chorus warming up somewhere out there in the hills. The only live music you'll hear tonight, and you didn't need a backstage pass. This is the reality for many celebrity homeowners here. They're not here to be seen, they're here to recharge, to think clearly, to remember what life feels like when no one's calling places or sending revised pages at midnight. And here's the intelligent part. That same lifestyle isn't reserved for the A-list. The privacy, the beauty, the breathing room, they're available to anyone who knows how to find the right home in the right part of Santa Fe. Because this city has a way of letting you live a big life quietly. And that, as every celebrity eventually learns, is the most enduring luxury of all.
Santa Fe is more than a dot on the map. It's a sanctuary, a retreat, a place where you can be anonymous on Tuesday, embraced like a long-lost friend on Wednesday, creative on Thursday, and completely still by Friday. Social when you choose, solitary when you crave it. Here, your pace is your choice, and that might be the rarest luxury of all. If you're considering a second home that blends privacy, culture, beauty, and authenticity, remember this. You don't have to be famous to live like the famous do. You just have to know where to look and how to choose a home that elevates your life instead of complicating it. That's where we come in. We specialize in matching extraordinary homes to extraordinary people, whether you're a celebrity, a business leader, or simply someone who values a life well lived. Our role is part market strategist, part confidant, and part concierge for every detail that matters to you. Your next chapter could begin here, and your only regret will be wondering why you didn't make the move sooner. Let's find your perfect retreat.
Thank you all for watching, and again, if you're planning on making a move to Santa Fe, make sure you give us a call, shoot us a text or an email, or just leave us a comment down below.
However you want to get a hold of us, we're here to serve you in your move to the Santa Fe area. Let us be your guide.